3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! Yeah, Happy New Year. Yeah, because this is our first episode of the year. No, it's been a while, sort of, but like, I don't know, we've been like kind of different with uploads. We were thinking of making another Christmas special, but then we already had a 2-hour one, so yeah, I think that was enough. So that was like, I think that was a good last episode of 2022. Now we're in 2023, so yeah. Um,
Plus, some stuff really some insane stuff happened on New Year's, right? Peter should have trusted the chicken coupon guy. Can you believe what happened?
yeah, of
Yeah,
course, we would go into an in-depth The Boom Family Guy discussion, which is the classic that people watch on New Year's Eve.
oh yeah,
Probably
same.
a
I do it every
tradition.
year. But
Yeah,
sadly, we're slightly past that now.
yeah. So, oh well, I guess. Or we could talk about Rudolph's Shiny New Year, which is a New
Oh
Year's
yeah,
thing. But yeah. We watched some movies and now we are gonna talk about them. So,
that's true.
yeah. But before we get to that, let's get to some news that has been happening lately. Uh stuff that stuff that stuff that's been happening. Like I guess well, he finally got arrested. Andrew Tate got arrested.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting news.
No, not the top G Tate.
Not
Right.
the top G.
Yeah,
And the way
I
he got
actually went back.
arrested was so funny. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I don't know the full story because I have to be honest, I'm not the biggest Andrew Tate enthusiast. I just know that he does not show much respect towards women. He he's he likes Bugattis and he's
Yeah,
rich.
there's that.
Yeah,
Memeing Tate is amazing.
yeah, uh-huh. Yeah. So he was arrested because I think he was like trying to make a response video to this girl named Greta Thunberg, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they
He
like
ordered the
tracked,
pizza,
yeah,
and
the
in the video they
pizza
leaked his
and
location,
yeah,
and then the
in
police got him.
Romania.
Yeah.
And then the police got him for human trafficking, him and his brother. So yeah,
I
now
think
he's
that's funny.
arrested.
I didn't have much to comment. I just gotta say, for all
Mhm.
you top G's out there, hashtag free Andrew Tate. Just everyone,
Mhm.
comment that in the comments below. Free Andrew Tate.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Just I'll get that in the comments. I don't know if he'll be free. I don't know what he's gonna say if he comes back. But yeah, Andrew Tate is a very interesting person. He's very interesting. So yeah, that's that we can say about that. Um, not much else.
Uh,
Um, I don't know.
I
Like
don't. Is there anything I'm trying to
I
like?
guess like I don't know. I heard the sad news about Jeremy Renner getting into like a awful snow accident, which
Oh
is
yeah,
kind of
I heard about
yeah,
that.
but
Right.
that's just kind of sad. But yeah. Avatar 2 released and that's been doing surprisingly better than I thought it would. 'Cause like I was just like mixed about it cuz I mean, do people I didn't think people still cared about Avatar. Like sure, it was the highest grossing animated film, but like just didn't like I just didn't think it would be as appealing to this day, so I didn't expect people to actually go and see it. But no, it's doing really well. I don't know if it's gonna surpass the original, but yeah,
Yeah, I'll definitely won't pass the original. Obviously it's not doing
yeah,
original numbers, but I don't know. I still think it's definitely doing better than I expected
yeah.
at least. And I still keep in mind I still have not seen Avatar 2 because I personally just don't really care that
I
much.
was thinking of seeing it because I feel like the best way you may like see these movies is probably on the big screen because it's like it's all known for its like amazing exceptional visuals, but like when it's like four, this one's nearly like what, 3 hours, like really
Yeah, it's like
long.
over. I think it's
It's
near
just like, yeah, and I already saw the re-release of Avatar 1 earlier this year. And yeah, and I guess James Cameron is really confident in these movies. He says if the Avatar sequels do well enough, there's always a chance for a sixth or seventh Avatar. Um, do people really want this? Do people really care? I've heard mixed things about Avatar 2. Some people say it's like much better than the first film, and some people are saying it's much worse. So it's just like it's just been pretty divisive from what I've heard, but it's obviously doing pretty well at the box office. So yeah.
Yeah.
Not as speaking of that, the box office, this film is not doing we should don't watch Avatar 2. Want to know what you should be watching instead? You should be watching the new Puss in Boots movie. And I'm saying that unironically. I'm saying that I am
Exactly.
dead serious right now. You
It's
should go and watch
animated
that
too.
instead.
Not
You know what? Yeah, nothing really else. Yeah, Puss in Boots 2, The Last Wish is we're going to be talking about that
yeah.
today. We didn't see Avatar 2, so we're not talking about that. We're not seeing we're not talking about Babylon, which is also in theaters. So, we're just talking about Puss in Boots 2, which we saw um uh in a theater uh and it was really good. I really loved
Yes,
this movie.
this movie is
So
amazing.
good. I did not expect it to be as
It was
good as it actually
okay.
was.
So let me explain. So like, when coming into this, I was like, all right. I was like, I was partially like, it was partially ironic hype, but also partially unironic. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I want to get to this movie, and then I see the reviews for this, and everyone is going insane over this
Uh-huh.
movie.
Yeah. A lot of people are
Like,
surprised by how good. It has a 4.2 on Letterboxd as of now, which is a great score. It is generally on the same level as those three Shrek movies.
yeah, like everyone like actually I think it's the highest rate. Well, Shrek's at like a 4.0, I think, but
Oh
it's the
wow. Yeah, it's higher rated than
highest
both.
rated thing in the Shrek, which I would
Wow.
not agree with.
Yeah, I still like Shrek 2 and maybe even Shrek 1 a tad bit
Shrek
more.
One is like my bias. Like I know Shrek Two is the better movie, but for some reason, every time I watch both, I still enjoy Shrek One more so. But anyway,
Mm.
but this is like still really good
Yeah,
for
like way
like
better than it
movies
has
that
any
don't
right
have.
to be.
Yeah,
Uh,
because the first Puss in Boots isn't even like that good. Like it's like
It's
it's
fine.
okay.
It's fine.
I
It's a
kind of like some
passable kid
aspects of it.
movie. But like
I like
it's a
Humpty Dumpty ironically because I like his stupid character design. But other than that,
yeah,
uh,
that's the most memeable thing about it. And
it's
Shrek's a really
completely ripped.
memeable franchise. That's why there's like a lot of jokes and memes from it, and the movies are generally good, except Shrek the Third. But we all know we try to ignore that one.
It
But
doesn't exist. Hardy dardy dar. Anyway,
yeah,
uh,
some people just pretend it doesn't
so
exist,
this is
and
the main
I
thing. So
honestly
on the
agree.
topic of like the Shrek movies, a lot of this movie like just reminded me of the aspects I really like about the early
Yeah.
Shrek movies, and like, cause like they do the same stuff that like I love in those movies. They'll take like partial like fairy tale like stories and tropes, and they'll do things that are really clever
Uh-huh.
that like
Like
subvert them.
yeah.
Like they do the Goldilocks story, but like do just like subvert where it's like
They're like a
it's
crime
very clever
family
and
in this
really
movie.
clever, like
Yeah.
unique ways. Like, yeah, that's what I love about the early Shrek
Yeah.
movies.
Also, since this is still in theaters, we should say a spoiler warning because I don't want to spoil. Like, I want to do a warning because this is a movie I generally want people to see. It's like,
All right.
I think it, yeah. I honestly, what appealed to me from the trailer, for a lot of people was the beautiful animation, and I noticed like DreamWorks is like animation is like evolving well, like basically inspired by the great Spider-Verse style. Like it's evolving. DreamWorks is taking this
I don't
style
know
as
if I'd go
well.
Spider Verse as like a style. That's like well,
I mean it
I
kind of
think
I
at
don't
this
know.
point, like that's kind of what caused it.
Yeah, that's kind of what
Caused the
caused the
movie.
trend. It's not like I feel it's
It's
not
like
like
being
2D
more
and 3D haven't been mixed together this well before. It's yeah, it's like but it feels like when Spider-Verse came out and people saw how beautiful that film looked. It started to like it started to like evolve into this. And in this movie, the visuals are phenomenal, which we should talk about quickly. I love the visuals, the action,
I agree.
just the fluidness, the stylization, the color palette, the aesthetic to it all. It all looks amazing, and it leads to such well coordinated action scenes, and it's so good. It's the highlight of the movie for me. Yeah, so the animation is great, and honestly, at worst, I thought this may just be style over substance, cause like I don't know, I didn't like the first Puss in Boots movie, and DreamWorks hasn't not made good. DreamWorks is the definition of a hit or miss studio.
Yeah, like I think out of the main like studios, it's weird because with something like Disney now, or even like I don't know, like Disney, like kind of
Yeah.
Pixar too. Like they have like hits and misses, but right now they're like in a consistent. You just make mediocre movies now. But with
Uh-huh.
DreamWorks, even like this decade, they keep flip flop because like it's easier to say, oh, DreamWorks is worse now, and yeah, you could kind of argue that's true. They've made a lot of bad
A
movies this
lot.
decade.
Yeah. You got the
Boss Baby
yeah.
movies like 2010s. Those are
Yeah,
kind of
Shark Tale, which is
the
not in the
Trolls movies.
2010s. The Trolls, Shark Tale.
What's another? Oh yeah, Turbo. Like they make all that, but even in
Yeah,
like
all
the same
those
decade,
cheap,
they
generic,
still
and
have
bad
like
animated
yeah.
movies.
But even in the last decade, they still have the How to Train Your Dragon movies.
They have Captain Underpants, which is really good.
Yeah, they have, and even recently Cruise too, which is
Yeah,
still like a
I
terrible
yeah,
movie.
I honestly, yeah, cause yeah, I did not like the first Cruise, but hey, I kind of like the sequel. It's like not like not amazing, but like a huge, it's a guilty pleasure. I like Cruise to a weird amount, and like and this movie is from the same director. Joel Crawford knows how to make sequels to animated DreamWorks movies that I did not care for at
Yeah,
all.
I mean DreamWorks is just surprisingly better at sequels a lot of the time than
Yeah,
most
uh-huh.
studios.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think so, but they're like really good at it.
Yeah, I mean they're not perfect with the sequels, but when
Oh
they
well,
make a
no,
good
no. Well,
sequel, they
the only
make a
ones
good
that
one.
like aren't good are like Boss Baby or Trolls, which are those are ones
And
like really
maybe the
good.
Madagascar movies, but like that's kind
No, the
of
Madagascar sequels are like a weird
Madagascar is just a
situation.
really weird franchise that I don't know how to feel about it.
Yeah,
It's yeah, but they make a lot of good sequels like this, Shrek 2, How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda, all that. It's like, and then we have this one, which is generally this is probably a top 10 best DreamWorks movie for me.
you know
This
what?
it's
I
that
don't have a
good.
DreamWorks list, but I would probably agree.
Yeah, I don't have that either. But yeah, it's probably top 10. Yeah, at least
Yeah,
top 10.
that's
Uh-huh.
fair.
Yeah, it's yeah. So the animation is definitely the highlight. This year earlier with the bad guys also had a great style like this. It was like a great mix of 2D and 3D animation, which I
Yeah,
think was done really well. It's
yeah,
like it leads to some great fast-paced action, some great stylization, and just looks really good.
yeah. I like it when they do like that, like all the movie style is, but when they do a specific style when it's just like
Uh-huh.
a fight scene, I like that because that makes it like the impact of those scenes
Yeah.
even more because you can feel it like differently. It's not like style like those fights are like the opening scene where Puss goes on like that. He does like that song going
Oh
on like that
yeah.
big like
And then
that
like he
part is
fights that
amazing.
giant. Yeah, that part is
Yeah,
sick.
it
Yeah.
just it's peak.
It just like fixes what I didn't care for. The first Puss in Boots was just kind of a whatever adventure story with really nothing that special for me to offer. It was a fine little spin-off of Shrek, I guess. And it's like at least different from Shrek. It's like separated from the Shrek universe. They're not constantly referencing it, which I'm surprised this film could have easily done. And there is a reference to Shrek in like
No,
that
they like
one.
reference Shrek like a couple like not reference Shrek,
Not
but they like
reference, just like
hint
visually
at like
note
I
it.
think I want to say two or maybe three moments where like Shrek like there's one
Yeah,
like when they're showing Puss's like times Puss dies, Gingy's there, and then when they
yeah,
do Jack Horner's backstory, Pinocchio's there, and
yeah.
that's like the only two times
And
in the
and
film.
like I guess the ending with like
Well,
when
the
they go to
ending that's like a whole
yeah,
separate
yeah.
movie. I
Honestly,
almost clapped in the theater when that
yeah,
happened.
that
That
was
ending
like
was
that was like
amazing.
the Marvel post credit scene of this movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I
I am
clapped.
I am I am so high. I am just like yeah, and I just really like the characters much more here. Let's talk about the characters. Like we got Puss. He is going for like it's interesting to see what they do with him because like Shrek. Shrek had like these. I feel like Shrek in the other movies had like a very realistic character arc that like sped over three movies and I mean four movies, but like we don't
Well,
count that
three
other one.
technically adds something that's kind of cool. Just that
it
movie
just
problems everything else.
yeah. It's just like yeah, but like there was a real character here. But they actually do something interesting with Puss here, with like him being down to his final life because he's a cat, and now him having to like go through like a midlife crisis, like him not knowing what to do, an existential crisis about life and whatnot, and basically not knowing how to live anymore now that he can't like because he felt like the only value he had as a person or cat is just adventuring and being a hero. But now that he can't do that, he's just like in this depressing state of retirement. So
Yeah,
when
it
he
is interesting though, because like Puss technically like he has like a partial arc in Shrek 2, and then he's just kind of there for 3 and 4. He doesn't really have anything like
yeah,
I like the character
I like
in the
his
other
mini
Shrek
arc
movies
in
doesn't really
Shrek
have
2.
much to him. And then in Puss in Boots, he also technically has an arc there, but like it's not really anything. Like I don't know.
It's kind of forgettable. Let's be. I was gonna rewatch the first Puss in Boots when I was gonna go see this movie, but I just kind of forgot. So I
Oh, it's
don't
fine. It's all
remember
good.
much
Oh,
about the first Puss in Boots, but I just remember it being okay. So
yeah, it's fine.
yeah, but if you like this movie, then you're probably gonna give this movie like 5 stars or whatever. If you liked the first movie, you're gonna love everything about this because
Yeah,
this movie was so
I don't
good.
think there's anything that the original like movie actually like does over this.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. It's better in
yeah, even
every
that whole Humpty
conceivable way.
Dumpty. If you're really into that
If
Humpty
you're
Dumpty
that
character,
Humpty Dumpty amazing character design that
yeah,
we all like to meme at times. Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah, I guess that. But yeah, it's like an interesting position to put his character that like I never thought that we would need from him because we thought the Shrek franchise was over. I heard about the fifth one. I don't know if they're actually making that. We don't know when it's coming out, but I feel
I'm
like
pretty sure. Well, no, I think they're doing that because like they wouldn't
yeah,
tease that
exactly.
if it weren't for this.
Unless they're gonna
And
try and
honestly,
turn
before
Puss in
this, like,
Boots 3, like make Puss in Boots
yeah,
3,
thing is,
unless
before this, I was more scared for Shrek. Wait, what is it? I was more scared for Shrek 5, like
yeah,
before this, and I still am kind of cautious now. But considering like the writing team, like if they like get similar people to try and do something with the Shrek franchise,
yeah.
I'm
Cause
more
like
optimistic
I'm
about it.
curious what they do with Shrek 5. Cause like I don't even know if it's a reboot still or whatnot, but like
I still I've heard conflicting info.
yeah, I don't know. It's like I'm unsure what Shrek 5 even is, or if it's even coming out. But like, I'm just curious. What do you even do with the series at this point? You know, like I keep thinking in my mind, what can they do with the series? And it just nothing comes to mind. It's like I'm curious to see if they make Shrek 5, what they're gonna do with it, and I really hope it's good because I don't think this franchise can handle another bad sequel. So
Yeah.
let's hope that
Anyway,
doesn't happen.
honestly, I think like if you're gonna continue the Shrek universe, I guess something like this
Hmm.
is the best like
Yeah.
route to
Uh-huh.
go. Like you still have like I said, this movie has the things I really like about Shrek 1 and Shrek 2, but they're doing it for like a different, well, not different lens, but like it has like those same like qualities, but it's not like continuing the same story, and they're doing something like cool with it and all these new characters, and that's another thing. This movie has really good new characters. They're like
Yeah, I will talk
new
about those in a minute.
villains, and they're
Yeah.
all great.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I guess we'll talk about those then. Yeah, I do like I did I this like this the like dog comic relief character I feel like could have so easily been annoying, but I actually really liked him. I thought he was funny. I thought he was cute, and
He was nice.
I
He
like
was my
how
favorite
yeah
character.
I like how overly sad his backstory of his is that he got like basically abandoned and kicked out of his family, and like how he doesn't even register his sad backstory because of like his how positive and pure he is. It's like sad but like kind of wholesome in some way. There's like this nice scene when Puss is running for his life, and then he like comforts him. It's wholesome. He's a wholesome character. Also,
Yeah, it's nice.
like earlier this year, like DC League of Super Pets, they also do that. Like, is this like a trend now with
I was
animated
gonna bring up
movies with like with him
that was
swearing and
really
that being censored? Like,
yeah. I don't know what was up with that. That like that
uh-huh.
really caught me off guard. Since like okay, that's weird. I don't know why you
Yeah, I don't know. I usually don't find swearing funny, but I feel like coming from this character, I just found
Well,
it
it was weird when like
mildly
I've seen
humorous.
cartoons do bleeps before. There's
Yeah.
literally like a whole there's like a SpongeBob episode literally
Yes.
about that.
Yeah.
But it's
True.
weird when they do like the bleeps actual adult media would do, and you can just like do that. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Speaking of adult media, this movie also has like actual blood in it,
Oh yeah.
so
There's
like
actual blood. Like not a lot of
it's
blood,
it's
of
and it's
course,
never like a lot of blood,
but
but
like
like
there's a
it's
hint of it. It shows there's consequences here. It's like, wow, this is serious.
and like it
This is
also puts into
dark.
perspective like the
Uh-huh.
actual stakes of this movie because like if
Yeah.
you look at something like the good thing like each of the Shrek movies have like actual like well the good Shrek movies Shrek the Third just kind of like bumming around you don't really see
Uh-huh.
like that much conflict but this like yeah you have like clear stakes to everything because even when there's like lax moments you know that like
Yeah.
Beth is literally chasing this guy down he's
Uh-huh.
like literally running away from
Oh
Death.
yeah. Oh, let's talk about him. Deaf.
Oh, I love
The
Death.
Deaf Wolf guy. He is probably one of the best, like, I guess, antagonists that
Honestly, he might
DreamWorks
be
has
like
ever made.
genuinely like he might hot take he might be the best villain in like the Shrek universe. Like,
He might. Yeah, I mean,
some people might bat for Fairy Godmother, which is
or
fair.
Lord Farquaad, which
Oh yeah,
Shrek
I love
movies
Farquaad
have a
too.
lot of good villains, so
Oh yeah, that's
it
true.
is one of the best
I
ones,
love
though.
all of them, but like he's still really good.
He is. It's just
He's
how
like a
intimidating
presence
he
in a
is.
very
Yeah,
decent
just
movie.
like his like main theme and like it's like he's probably like I generally felt kind of scared by his very presence because of like the theme, his design, everything like culminates so well uh to his vocal performance. Who voices him? I don't know this actor, Wagner Mora. Whatever whatever. He did a good job playing him. I'm just saying, just like it's just such an intimidating presence, and I like the twist that he's literally deaf, trying to chase Puss, trying to say like, because Puss has never felt like the pressure of death upon him, and it's like interesting, you know. This might be a weird comparison, but I do like what they do with certain like when they take like I want to compare this to Family Guy, which may be weird. So, like in the early
Oh,
seasons of Family Guy, we had
go
like
on, go on.
Brian go through like a sort of like a crisis, you know, trying to like being sad that he's like not seen like as a citizen because he's a dog, you know, trying to tired of being seen by a
Uh-huh.
dog. I like how they use like these animal traits and do like something interesting with like these
Oh yeah,
characters who have
the
like a
episode's actually cool, so I
conscience.
understand why
Yeah,
you're like
like
this is like
you know, animals who have a conscience and then like do something that would like that like fits right for them. Like of course he'd be like not knowing what death is like because he's had like because you know he hasn't ever had to felt the consequences because he's had 9 lives all these years. It's like it's interesting. That's why he like puts himself in these dangerous scenarios, and it's like very interesting to see him in this place, you know? And like him and the pure fear that Puss feels running away from death is just really felt well.
yeah, and it's like and because he's like technically like a villain. Well, he's like this movie technically has three villains, like we said, but like he's like good as in like he's in a way he's just kind of doing is like partially doing his job, I guess. But, like at the end when he realizes that like Puss has like partially grown, he like
Yeah.
backs down and like waits until he like actually dies for the final time because like he knows he's like Lawrence. So like all the villains in the, except for Jack Horner, I guess he doesn't really have any layers to them. But like, all the villains in this movie are like interesting and really entertaining.
Yeah.
And
I also
we mentioned Death's design because it's like one last thing I wanted to mention about him. He is an amazing
yeah, he has
design.
a great yeah, we mentioned his design. Also,
Okay,
yeah,
keep
I
going.
also want to like get to Puzz's like I guess love interest sort of from the first film, Kitty Softpaws, who was much more developed here. I don't remember a single thing she did in the
It's
first
easy to
movie.
forget she was even like a part of the
I
first
don't
movie.
remember much about the first movie. I just remember Humpty Dumpty being like
But I
I
remember her
literally
her not being
I
in it
mainly
too.
just remember Humpty Dumpty if I'm being honest. I don't remember and something about Jack
Fair,
and the
honestly.
Beanstalk and whatnot. I don't remember too much about it. Um yeah, but like she's more developed here, you know? Like I like how she's just has such a terrible time trusting people and not able to like open up with it to the point when she's taking like the one wish she has just so she can have like someone she can trust in. So like it's an interesting. She's a good character. Honestly, all the characters are good. There's not a single character that I found annoying or unlikable. So every time they followed, like, I mean, some are unlikable, but like in a good way, you know? Like I like the other villains. Like I like Jack Horner. I thought he was hilarious. I thought he was hilarious, you know? I thought it was like
Oh, he's great.
yeah.
I love him because like I think everything balances well. Because you got like Death, who's like
Yeah.
the serious threat, and then you
Uh-huh.
got Goldilocks, who's like
Who's the
the
like
main, like I
sympathetic
guess the
threat?
kind of rival one, and
Yeah.
then Jack Horner, he's just like an asshole, and like
He's
he's
just
just
like
like
a giant asshole who wants like
he's like a partial comic relief villain, but I don't know if comic relief's the right word. He just like the
yeah.
one you're supposed to like
He's funny
sympathize
though.
with.
I love how overly and hilariously malicious he is and how evil he is. I find like
I
I
love it
find
when he pulls out Jiminy Cricket and he's like,
I found that part so funny, like the
and then
bits
he
when he
just
just
eats
has
the
like
like
a
simulator. That's amazing.
yeah, and like how the cricket tries to like sympathize with Jack Horner, and he's all like, and he's like trying to turn him into a better person, and then he's just like so evil in his eyes. Like he literally like the brutal deaths of each of his henchmen. It's all just like it's just hilarious. Like how he
Yeah.
loses multiple henchmen over the course of the movie, and how like he's just an evil, rich, spoiled brat who just wants power. So I found that funny. And it's like, yeah, he balances out death pretty well, but not in the way that like gets in the way of the overall tone of the movie. So I liked that. Um, yeah, I also liked the Goldilocks stuff. I like it. It's a nice story about like family, you know. It's a wholesome. It's wholesome. I would like to give depth to it, and I like how they could have easily done this thing where like the family splits up after they find out what Goldilocks' real wish is, but turns out they don't because the bears still care about her. It's like it that they could have easily gone in that direction, but they didn't, right? So yeah, that was cool. I like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I also
Well,
just like the set. Well, not this. Yeah, I just like the setting and everything. Like it's all like to back to the animation. It's all just like looks very visually different, and
uh huh.
it's also kind of fun how they like keep jumping between like the different like the world alters between like who has the map and how all that works. I like all that a lot.
Yeah.
That's
hmm
cool.
It's
And
like yeah. hmm
mhm.
I I Oh yeah, the climax is incredibly like
Oh
fun.
yeah,
I like
perfect.
how it
Yeah.
all takes place on the titular wishing star, and then it's all like this giant battle. Excuse
hmm
me, but like all the animation is just like comes together here, like the beautiful color palette and aesthetic. It all comes together to form just like this beautifully well coordinated action scene in the climax, and it's so good. I am so shocked. I expected this movie to be good because like wow, I looked at the trailers and this looked surprisingly good. But even I was surprised of how much I enjoyed a lot of it. I do
Yeah,
might
like cause the thing is, Letterbox this year especially has a tendency to overhype things a lot. So I don't trust Letterbox a lot of the time. Okay, like, not obviously sometimes it's helpful, but a lot of the time I'm like, okay, is this like really gonna be actually good, or are they fucking with me again? But no, during this, so that was like, okay, you see this movie, it's like 4.0. It's at like literally in the
yeah.
threes. You know, so that's something.
Yeah,
And then
that's
like, mm, so then I was like, okay, is this actually gonna be good, or are they trolling me? But then I'm like, all right. Then I see no, this movie like obviously it's not perfect, but it was really, really entertaining throughout, and I am glad that
uh-huh.
DreamWorks has kept up their trend of making like actually good like
Yeah, good
sequel. Well, most of
sequels.
the time, but
Yeah, but
yeah,
I'd say a good portion of their sequels are good, and I think they make better sequels than Pixar and Disney 80% of the time. Even
yeah,
though Pixar has Toy Story too, but yeah. Also, yeah, like in terms of the letterbox thing you were talking about, yeah, I'd say like good examples of that situation were probably Scream 5 and Rescue Rangers for me.
oh yeah, definitely. Those are like the biggest ones,
Yeah,
and I guess Doctor
I
Strange is
disagree
pretty
with.
good as
Yeah,
well.
Those are like the letterbox stuff that I highly disagree with in a lot of ways. So yeah. Um, yeah, I really loved this movie for all the characters, a lot of it, the beautiful animation, it all just came together really well. I do have one minor criticism, if I'm being honest, is that like they have this kind of sort of rushed third act breakup between Puss and Kitty, which I thought was a
The
tad
thing
bit
is, I that
forced.
was annoying to me at first. I was like worried when that happened that that would go in a bad direction. But like, but no, they like
I
to me
think
it like
that it
hit
ends
home.
wrong. I get it ends well, I'd say, but I feel like
Yeah,
that moment like
and it
felt
didn't
kind of
go on for
rushed.
like as long as it could have, and especially considering Shrek has a tendency to do really bad third act breakups. This is a lot better than that. So
Yeah, I'd say, yeah. Yeah, I think that might be just my biggest criticism, and it's not even that big of it, if I'm being
yeah,
honest,
I would.
I guess. And that's like, I don't know. Maybe some stuff also kind of dragged for me, but that's just kind of, that, I don't know. They're not like huge issues. I still enjoyed like the whole thing as a whole, and at least the stuff I didn't like all leads to something much greater with each of the characters. So certain stuff does feel purposeful in the end, even though I didn't fully like it myself. So yeah, it all flows together well. Everything was done well. The writing is sharp. The animation is great. Each and every character is fun and enjoyable. It's just good job, DreamWorks. Good job. Good job. This is the best film. This is the best film you made in a while, if I'm being honest. Might be better than How to Train Your Dragon 3. To be fair, I need to watch those rewatch those movies. But this film was great. I loved it.
Yeah, I would very much agree.
I wouldn't
Probably
mind
like
seeing it again in theaters. Like
yeah.
I honestly wouldn't
Honestly,
mind doing
I'd
that.
have to check. This might be my favorite. Well, I think this and Del Toro Pinocchio are like my favorite.
Animated film of the year. I think I might like Del Toro's Pinocchio a bit more. If you're wondering why we didn't talk about that, well, I don't know.
We forgot.
Yeah, we just, yeah. But don't worry. Like we said, I don't know if we said it, but we plan on later doing like a top 10 best and worst of 2022. So, yeah. So maybe you'll see that pop in it with our rankings. We'll probably divide them into two separate videos, like Brian's top 10 and Anthony's top 10. So, yeah, you'll see that. So, if
Yeah.
you're curious about that discussion, but yeah.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it'll only be top 10 though, so maybe honorable mentions will be mentioned. So yeah, that'll happen with that. Also, what'd you think of the also that like after credits thing when we see Far Far Away? That like gets me interested to see because I feel like that either confirms a Shrek 5 or a Puss in Boots 3, but I don't know if that's gonna happen because
Yeah, they're probably gonna tie it into Shrek Five somehow.
yeah,
I'm curious how, but that's probably where they're gonna go with it.
uh-huh.
Like I am like I really don't know what they would do for Shrek Five, and I'm still kind of nervous. But as long as it's not like a reboot, this gives me like more hope for however that
Yeah, I
goes.
hope it's not like. I hope it's not in that case. I hope it's not like how Venom Let There Be Carnage tied into No Way Home. Like how it was just like just to get people hyped only for do nothing with that character in the like
Oh yeah,
next movie, I guess. I hope they
no,
don't
it
do
happened
something like
in
that,
No
but
Way Home.
yeah, I hope it goes well. I I honestly have more hope for Shrek 5 thanks to this, and I honestly am just curious to see how they like how it looks now because DreamWorks has been evolving this fantastic animation style. And I feel like they're going to do the same thing with Kung Fu Panda 4, which is also announced.
Oh, I forgot that was it too. I'm more nervous for that one than I am Shrek Five, kind of, since really don't know what it would be or like
Hmm.
why they would want to continue it. But I guess we'll see of that. I hope it's not like
Yeah.
a reboot, but
Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be very yeah. We'll see what Kung Fu Panda 4 is. It felt like with Kung Fu Panda 4 though, it feels like a sequel that just like that you like that felt like wasn't like was felt like DreamWorks has not been doing well financially lately. I'm pretty sure like the bad guys did not do well, kind of bombed. Boss Baby 2 bombed as well. Um
well, Boss Baby Two was I think a Paramount. What is it? No. Paramount
It came
Plus
out on
streaming
Peacock, I guess.
Yeah, but I
Peacock.
guess like streaming release made it matter less. But also, I don't know who
Uh,
has Peacock, but
yeah.
it's like
Yeah. I don't think it did
well,
that
then
well.
like at least with I don't know if I think it from at least the mid 2010s they haven't been doing that great, which I guess
Yeah.
is why they have
Uh
to
huh.
rely on their like franchises now, which is why we got more Boss Babies, three Trolls movies now,
Yeah. They're
so
making. I heard
it's
they're
not like
making a third
it's
Trolls
not
movie this year.
yeah,
Yeah.
which yeah, I'm not like looking forward to, but like at least it makes sense from a financial perspective why they have to do that,
Uh
which is
huh.
why I'm glad now. Well, I'm hoping this does well. At least Puss in Boots too. They
Yeah.
get more of them.
Uh huh. I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see what they do with Shrek 5 and Kung Fu Panda 4. So, yeah, we'll see. Trolls, I'm not looking for. Honestly, noticing the new DreamWorks logo, like, thing before the movie,
Oh yeah,
like,
they didn't do DreamWorks logo. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, you notice there's Boss Baby and Trolls in there. So it's clear that in terms of that, it's all based off financially. Even though I think they could have replaced the Trolls with Madagascar or something. People say that they should have replaced those two franchises with Megamind or Madagascar, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a Megamind sequel. I don't
Oh yeah,
know.
no, they're doing a show. I think.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember they're doing that.
yeah. DreamWorks makes a lot of random shows. Like they made a Puss in Boots show, a Boss Baby show, and now they're a Monsters versus Aliens show. I don't know. They like doing that at times. Do you have anything else to say?
Not much.
Yeah,
I
we.
think we covered our ground pretty well. I'm just very happy this turned out the way it did.
Uh
I hope DreamWorks does more like this. And yeah, also I think one more thing we kind of touched on it, but this is like probably one of the funnier movies of the year, which is surprising considering
I was surprised
like
how funny a lot of the jokes
yeah,
was.
I did have a lot of parts where like I actually laughed, which is rare
Mainly
in
from
an
Jack
animated movie
Horner,
now.
and yeah.
Yeah, and like, but yeah, overall, very nice movie. Good
Yep.
job.
I'm tired.
You did it.
Yeah, I give it a solid 8 out of 10. Give it an
8.
8
I
out of
would
10.
go an 8 too. Maybe I might rewatch it like eventually when it
Maybe
comes
I'll give
out.
it a 9 one day. I generally really loved it. Like, I
I want
generally
to
gets
rewatch
better
it
the
when it
longer
comes
I
out.
think about it. It's like
I
on
want to
around
rewatch it
this.
when it hits
Yeah.
digital.
Uh
I think
huh.
I'll like it more then. But
Yeah, I do kind of want to rewatch this movie again if I'm being honest. So, yeah, 8 out of 10. Really loved this one.
yeah,
Check it out. Anyways, I guess we're gonna get on to, what our, I guess, films we chose to discuss
Can
this.
I do a transition? I have a really good transition, I think.
Sure.
So Puss in Boots 2, it's losing money to Avatar 2 when there are better James Cameron movies you can watch. James Cameron movies like
The
okay,
Terminator.
yeah,
Yeah.
another good
Yeah.
movie.
The
Yeah,
Terminator. Okay, so
yeah, we didn't
yeah,
go far past that.
the first two Terminator movies, the ones directed by James Cameron. Why we're not doing the other ones? Because screw it. We're not doing that. Maybe one day we'll do a campy cast episode
On the
called
Terminator.
the Terminator sequels that we don't talk about. We'll call it that. Yeah. So yeah, the Terminator sequels are like the sequels to Home Alone in some way. So this is my first time seeing it. I sat down, watched the first two movies, and I loved them. They're great
I
movies.
agree.
Yeah.
I watched all the Terminator movies last year.
Uh-huh.
Well, I took big breaks actually. I watched like the first two in February,
Yeah, I haven't seen the
and
other
the others
sequels
were
yet. I've
the
just
rest of the
seen.
year.
Yeah, I've
And
recently watched this from the first time, and there's four other sequels that I haven't seen yet. So I'll see
all
how
of
that
them
fares
are
between the others.
terrible.
Mm.
Preemptive note: Terminator Dark Fate and Genesis are like some of my least favorite things ever. So that should
Yeah.
tell you something.
Huh.
And then Terminator 3 is really annoying, and Terminator Salvation is really boring, even though it's better. So All right,
Yeah.
so my brief thoughts. If you want to know if we don't do that video or if it's a while until we get to the Terminator sequels, but
Uh-huh.
these first two, Terminator One, Terminator Two, fantastic movies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, let's start with the first one, obviously, since that, yeah, let's talk about the first one. So, Terminator 1, it's about I think I really like that concept of this movie. You know, it's a cool idea. We got this robot Arnold Schwarzenegger named the Terminator going back in time to kill someone named Sarah Connor who raises a son who ends up leading the resistance against a machine war in the future. It's a
Yeah,
it's a cool idea, and I think it's all well executed, tied well to Arnold's performance in this movie.
yeah,
Because I feel like he's just like he definitely. I think the Terminator himself is just such a intimidating, cool killing machine,
yeah,
and almost everything about him. Like we got that famous "he'll be back" scene when he says he'll come be back, and I thought he'd be back with like a gun or something, but no, he subverts expectations and runs in with a fucking car, and then just starts killing everyone in the building, and it's all just very like showing that this guy means business, and even during the climax, which we'll talk more about later, it's like it all comes together well because how generally intimidating he is, and like to his design, to his to just his presence overall.
yeah.
And it's just like overall the visuals of the Terminator I feel like have aged mostly well and definitely add
Yeah.
to his creepy
And I'm pretty
effect.
sure this movie was like relatively low budget for its time, which is like not like low budget, but like it was made relatively cheaply. Oh, let me look up
Mm.
the budget now. And like yeah, I think they used it all well, which like turned yeah, it was only like 6.4 million, which it seems like a lot, but at the time movies were being made like for
Hmm.
50-ish for like big blockbusters. But it was
Yeah.
all like used well and like the main thing I want to comment on with this movie, I think the main thing that ties it all together is Arnold is like the perfect casting for the Terminator, and like I think this is the best like this is like the best way to use Arnold in like a movie, at least this specific role. Because I
Mm.
love Arnold, and I've seen a handful of Arnold movies, but when he's like overly like talking and stuff, it's a little it sometimes comes across as a little silly. Like if you watch something like Jingle All the Way or Batman and Robin, the way Arnold talks just adds to the silliness of those movies. He's like you know what I mean? He's like a
Mhm.
very like but then with this, it's like it fits because like well first of all, in this first movie, the Terminator himself, he doesn't actually have a lot of speaking lines. A lot of it just comes down to Arnold's like facial presence and the way he like
Yeah.
moves robotically. So then like even when he does talk, even if you could argue the delivery is not the best, he's like it fits because he's a literal robot. It's like him delivering weird is in there
Uh-huh.
because he's not real. He's like it fits really well. And then his presence and everything and like there's like a couple scenes in this movie. I think some of my favorite scenes in the movie are when Kyle Reese is just like he's like there and he's like just explaining the lore of the Terminator and how he'll talk about how he doesn't feel any remorse. He won't stop to kill you about anything. It's like it's genuinely really terrifying and it's like
Yeah, I
probably
think Arnold might be the best part of the movie, but I do like other stuff, like how Sarah Connor is able to like rationalize the situation like well, like how instead of just being stupid, she's like aware that this is like a serious matter and like is like and she feels like a real person in this situation, and I think that makes her character as engaging as it is. And it all just comes down to like the cool idea for this movie that I feel like this is a cool idea. Good for you, James Cameron. The film's really well directed. It builds tension incredibly well. Like I said, it all comes down to the great performances and expression and pure like it all just feels so real despite the supernatural concept. And it's
yeah.
just it all comes together well into just such a badass action movie.
Yeah, and also the soundtrack too. Like I want to
Oh
mention,
yeah,
it
that's
has like a
great.
very '80s like aesthetic to it. Just like how it has like a lot of '80s like I think synth music. I'm not the music. I think it's like synth music's the right term. Just, like a lot of very '80s feeling music. Which you could argue that makes it dated, but I think it just like it adds to a very specific like vibe the movie has, and
Mm,
it's really like it kind of adds sometimes like the weird like horror. Well, not horror. You can kind of call this a horror movie. It's like part horror, part action, but it's it just adds to it, and I think that's one of the other cool things about it. Just the
yeah. It's like, yeah, I agree. Like the score in this movie, the overall soundtrack is generally amazing. Like probably the best part of it. Actually, no, Arnold's the best part.
well, like one of the best parts.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things. Yeah. Yeah, I also like the time traveler Kyle Reese who ends up and like, and I think the romance between him and Sarah Connor is definitely like built up decently well. I mean, I guess it kind of
Yeah,
makes sense if like you put it into context. So,
yeah.
yeah, I understand it, and it's like
And
a
Kyle Reese also is like he does some of my favorite parts of the movie. Like I said, he's just like the one there's like this one real like I said the one scene where he's explaining like the Lord of the
yeah,
Rings
and
and
people
like
think he's
going on.
crazy.
And like I think like my favorite, probably my other favorite scene is when he's in like the police department and he's explaining to those guys just like the Terminator lore, and then they like
Hmm.
cut him off, and it's just like you could tell like how the fear in his performance, how like genuinely terrified he seems, because he like knows, because he's from the future, he knows all the shit that the
Yeah.
Terminators do.
Uh-huh.
It's really interesting, just like seeing all that.
Yeah, it all
I
comes
love it.
together really well. Yeah, it's just yeah, if I'm being honest, this probably won't be I don't have too much to say about this movie. It's just a great movie that does and that does this really cool concept justice. And it all
Yeah,
comes together tied to Arnold's performance, to the fantastic direction and overall and performances and enjoyable characters and good writing. It's a great movie. Yeah.
yeah.
It's just like it all feels like despite like the supernatural idea, it all just feels real in terms of
I
like
think
how
that
people
well, part
react
of
to the
that might be because,
Terminator.
like I said, this was relatively low budget for the time. If I had to guess, most of the budget was probably just on like the mild effects that like they have like I I guess like well at the end actually most of it was probably on the climax and actually like the
Hmm.
skeleton like the innards of the Terminator being which is an amazing scene by the way when like Arnold he's like the actual skin of him is melted off and he's
Hmm.
like is in like that like
Yeah, and like how he stops at nothing to kill Sarah Connor. It's like
yeah, literally
it's
nothing
very
because
intimidating. It's like the
he's
death
like
of
solidified and
Puss
he
in
has
Boots of this
literally
movie.
no remorse for anything, which is like that's adds like more intense to it because like with most horror or like thriller characters, it's like even if they're human, they're like implied to be like inhuman monsters. Mainly like I don't like Halloween. This be a comparison to that with something like Halloween with Michael Myers or something. That they're like specifically about how they're like inhuman and like they don't feel any remorse. So for this, even like they explain it obviously that he has no remorse, but the fact that he's like a literal like robot that adds to the scariness of it because like
Uh-huh.
he's basically like a killing machine programmed to
Yeah.
kill this one specific person, and he like and even though he only tries to kill one person, he ends up killing like I think at least 3, 4 people because they have like those scenes in the beginning where because he doesn't know what Sarah Connor, so he kills like 2 other people named Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
It's I like that was another interesting thing because like, they're programmed to kill these specific people. He doesn't even do any research on which
Hmm.
one. He's like, all right, I'm gonna get Sarah Connor. This is my only goal, and
Yeah.
it's really threatening and just adds to the movie a lot. I'm
Uh-huh.
watching it.
Yeah. And it also does like a cool idea to open the gate for multiple sequels, since I feel like I mean, I guess at least one sequel sort of makes sense. It's like
Terminator 2 is the only one that like actually adds something
I
because
think I
not
have much more to say about Terminator 2 than
yeah,
I do with this
Terminator
one.
2 is a very open. Well, no, Terminator 1, it's a really good self-contained story, but they leave that room for another one. Which
Yeah,
I think
they
that's
do
really
that
how it
well. It's
goes.
like there's a lot of stuff like what happens next? Are we gonna see this war play out? What's gonna happen?
Well, they imply that at the end because like that one kid's like, "there's a storm coming, boy, you gotta go, and they like just end on that, which is a really good final shot actually. Just the driving out
Yeah.
into
Hmm.
the storm with the really good music, and it all goes really
Yeah,
well.
it's a fantastic movie. I enjoyed it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want to talk about this more, but like honestly, it's just like one of those movies. It's like this and The Predator are kind of similar to me because they're both like around this like I feel like they're both like they have likable characters and they have this like very intimidating looming threat, and it's like and they have Arnold Schwarzenegger in it as well, and they're just like not too much I could really say about him. Like they're just fun movies that I enjoy a lot, like that I respect and I think work really well, down to the good writing, to the performances, to how realistically the whole thing is portrayed, to how well directed the whole thing is, the performances, like I
By
said.
the Predator, you mean Predator 1987, not the Predator.
Oh God, yeah, Predator one,
Well, I
no,
just
not
wanted to
that,
clarify
no,
that.
no, yeah, sorry, 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 I meant,
1987.
no, no, that movie's fucking terrible, The Predator,
Yeah.
no, no,
Anyway.
yeah, um,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, I don't know, do you have much else to say?
I have like one small like just
Yeah,
one quick note I want to say. We didn't really talk about Sarah Connor herself that much, but like
yeah,
there's another thing that I think grounds it because like there's like this really cool scene I like where Kyle Reese is like explaining to her like, oh, this is all the stuff that you do in the future, but like but what we see from um, Sarah in the actual movie, it's not really showing that she actually does any of that. What we see
yeah,
her, she's basically like it's a good example of like an everyman who's like an average like person. She's not really. She's kind of like she's just like in the beginning. She like has friends. She works this like sort of
uh-huh,
dead end job. But then like it's the perfect like sort of like average Joe character just thrust into this like situation. And like the way she reacts to everything is just really like real. I think that's the other thing that ties the whole movie together. Like the I guess the
hmm,
three like main people, Kyle Reese, the titular Terminator, and Sarah Connor, all those working as well as they do, tie it all together just to make it
uh-huh,
as good as it is. So
yep, yeah, I like
that's my
that.
last main note. I don't know if you had anything else, but
Yeah, I don't. I just like, yeah, great movie. I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10.
I would go a little bit higher. I'm gonna go a 9 on this rewatch. But yeah,
Yeah,
very much love this film.
yeah. I think we'll
And
have more to say about Terminator 2, but
oh, definitely, I liked it.
yeah.
I liked it
Let's
too.
start let's start off. Let's go with Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Gonna skip transition to that now.
All
So,
right,
um I love this movie. No joke. This might be
I adore this
the
movie. Like
best
this
movie
is
we have talked about here. This might
yeah.
beat this honestly
This
probably
is
beats
like
RRR for me.
just gonna jump the gun. This is like
Jump
kind
into
of
it on
tied
this one.
for my favorite movie. This is like
Oh,
one of the.
yeah.
I don't think this is gonna. Most things in the podcast probably won't top this. Maybe like subjectively, but this is like
Hmm.
partially everything I love about a movie in one thing. I know that's high
Really?
praise, but hear me out. There's
Yeah.
like a lot to this,
It is a
and
good movie. Hmm.
yeah, yes. I'm gonna let you start off if you have any, because I probably have a lot to say.
Yeah, I'll start off. I think this is just I want to start off. This is a great sequel to the first film.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, definitely.
it basically does a good job at expanding upon everything that made the original like so good. Like it's a cool idea. Like it takes place multiple years after the first, and it's like a it's like Sarah is now in a mental asylum, which makes sense since all she's been through with her being like basically rambling on probably about the future and whatnot, and basically just freaking out over it. Like it makes sense for her to be in this mental state now, and then we get to see a younger John Connor who is like he's like a kid with foster parents he doesn't care about, and we also see like that apparently they've sent multiple Terminators back in time, which that makes sense, because the first film, the question you're wondering is that like, would Skynet or whatever send another Terminator back in time? Would they do that? And would they find and would the and would there be and would John Connor send another protector for himself? Would this happen? Would this situation happen again? And on paper, it sounds familiar. It sounds like the same, but what they do with it is that they end up doing what I like about a sequel and how they do it to expand the world really well and expand the characters. So that's why it's a really good sequel in that department.
Hmm. Yeah, and like the thing is, like everything is like I mentioned this. Like I did a letterbox review of this a while back, but like the main thing is like everything is so naturally like such a natural continuation of what you'd want
Uh
in a
huh.
sequel. Like your first logical question is like, okay, so like obviously like seeing the more Terminators back in time, that's gonna make sense. Judging by like how like corporate and dominant Skynet seems to be, they're not gonna stop at one Terminator. So like
Yeah.
the main thing is like, so then John Connor, right? That's like the main thing. Like, okay, so the first movie like it kind of hypes up John Connor as this like big war hero. And yeah, it'd be like kind of cool to see the future him, but it's not. You get to see what John Connor started out as, and then like it kind of enhances Terminator One in a way, because like like this little kid we saw, he grew up to do all this, and even like
Uh
having
huh.
Kyle Reese help. It's like that's cool. I like that a lot, and just the main thing is, and then like Sarah being like held captive, that makes sense too, because like judging by like she sees all the Terminator stuff after this, she could partially be considered insane too, which she is. She's held captive, and
Yeah.
then all that ties together really well, because like you get to see like Sarah's conflict tying with John's, because obviously she's held captive. He has to have foster parents who like they try to care for him, but deep down, John Connor knows that like he doesn't really have like connections with any of his like blood relatives, because Kyle Reese, he's in the future, obviously. Well, because Kyle Reese is not Kyle Reese is gone, and then and then Sarah is like locked up. So it's like yeah, it's all naturally develops on each other, and it's real. Everything is just really, really well done.
Yeah, I really like the part like in the opening when you're really like when we got like T-1000 and the Terminator like chasing John and you're like at first it leaves you with like a question like oh you think that at first I thought like ooh this maybe this like police officer guy is trying to like find John to protect him. But then you see the other Terminator and you assume that it's like the same model who's back from it. But then it subverts your expectations and it turns out that like instead of rehashing that part of the original, it ends up like mixing it up a little. It turns out that John ended up reprogramming a similar Terminator in ordering to protect him. And we see him like over the course of the movie like they expand on the Terminator as a character a lot. Instead of him just being a intimidating killing machine, which worked well in the first movie, they expand it and make him his own character by him learning about human emotions.
Yeah, and it's also like naturally done. Like at first,
Yeah.
like you said, I love the ambiguity where you don't really know. Is it gonna
Uh-huh.
be like this? Like you don't know that Arnold's not the killer until eventually he
Yeah.
shoots the T-1000 in the arcade place. So then like there's all that, which is really intense, and then after that there's like a really really good action scene that like ties it all together nicely. But then like when she like the scene with John and Arnold are really good in this, because he's not evil anymore, but like well, not evil anymore. It's like a different Terminator, but like still like he doesn't have any of like the proper human emotions. So like, and then like you have
Mhm.
like natural scenes of him learning it over the movie. He has to explain why killing is like wrong, which I know that sounds obvious, but he's like a robot. He literally doesn't know any better. He wouldn't
Exactly.
kill anyone before his cause. And
Uh-huh.
then like they have like that's like a lot of what I love about this movie is just they have like really natural banter with each other, when like that one scene where John's trying to teach the Terminator how to speak like proper human
Yeah.
not like proper terms instead of just like affirmative, and like how like a robot
Yeah,
like
it's nice to see him become more
it's all nice.
human and it's
It's
like
all
it's all really wholesome and it's nice. I like their relationship and and like how he's basically a bigger father figure because John never was able to have like a real father figure since like his dad was technically not even born yet since like yeah, he has to send someone back in time so that way he can be born. So, yeah,
Yeah.
um, it's like it's very interesting. Also, T1000 could have easily been a worse Arnold, but I feel like the fresh coat of paint with him basically being able to morph into anyone basically makes him much more intimidating. The visuals,
Yeah, it's like
while a bit of it could be cheesy, I think like probably like similar to the first Predator, while it may come off as cheesy, I think it almost adds to the intimidation to the point when it doesn't really bother me. It adds to like it. Like, it could be cheesy, but it also like very like supernatural and out of place, and I feel like that's like the type of vibe they're going for
yeah,
with this character, and I think it works well to this day.
yeah. Thing is, another thing about the CGI is you could argue part of it is like it's like the only parts I think are kind of dated is some of the T1000 CGI, but even for the time, like this is 91. So this is one of the first movies to like start using CGI. Jurassic Park was like the big breakthrough movie, but this
Uh-huh.
was like one of the first to be like, all right, we're gonna use CGI for our movie.
Yeah.
And even that, there's like a lot of CGI for this movie, but like they like actually there's like a lot of this movie is practical too, and it's all like amazing. Like all the chase scenes, all like the truck stuff, all of that is real. They did all of that, and like it's so like you can feel it because all the action scenes of this movie are like incredible. All the like the bit like the first chase after the Terminator catches the T1000, like like finds the T1000 tracking down John. That scene is great, and there are other great scenes later. This also has a really good climax. The point is,
Yeah.
like, just all really, really well done as like an
Uh-huh.
action
Yeah.
set piece.
Uh-huh.
Mwah. Great.
Yes, epic. It's great. That yeah, and honestly, a lot of the positives are still here from the original. Like mainly the we have like the score is still great, the action is great, Arnold's performance is still great. The performances are generally great, especially with Sarah Connor. She definitely feels like the pure trauma and agony she feels when she first sees the Terminator is generally like really felt well, and that's probably one of the best scenes in the movie, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The climax is great. It's just like not only does it's like pretty much almost everything I could want in a film sequel. It's like probably tied with Toy Story 2 as probably my favorite sequel ever made. It's like mainly because they both expand on the original. Like I think it's interesting because this movie like takes on the surface a similar like a similar concept or idea and uses it to expand and differentiates itself amazingly along with perfectly expanding upon everything with the original by like adding like developing certain aspects of it though like doing a good job at introducing us to John Connor, showing how like traumatized and overall like poorly like felt that Sarah Connor has felt over time. It's all done really
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah. Yeah, like I said with the first movie, like that, since you mentioned Sarah Connor, like the scenes with her in the mental institution, like kind of like the Kyle Reese scenes in the first movie, because like seeing her describe everything, considering she's literally gone through all that, is like it's really like it's really interesting to see. And then like later on, what they do with her character is like she's obviously better after she leaves the institution, but even for a lot of this movie, like she's like actually just like un unhinged basically because like there's like that one
mhm.
scene where she breaks into the family's house and just like
Yeah, and she
assaults
basically
them all
tries
like
to kill them.
yeah, and
Basically,
like you can kind of like on a base level you like understand like yeah they're like gonna be helpful with what their goals but considering you see how much he's like degraded and like that helps like seeing the first movie obviously the
hmm
context of the first movie helps because you see she was basically just like I said she was basically just an average person and now
yeah,
she's just like
uh-huh.
she's
She didn't
basically
even,
gonna
she
fight
barely thought of the consequences. It's like, if he just killed him, honestly, I feel like this is an interesting thing to leave up for interpretation, but based off of how time travel works, if Judgment Day never happens, then that means John Connor would have never existed. So I feel like that's like an interesting thing to the point when she wasn't even thinking about any of the consequences overall. So like, yeah, and it kind of leaves like you to leave up the ending for interpretation. Like I'm assuming they like probably stopped Judgment Day, and like I mean I heard that it happens anyway in the third Terminator movies,
Oh
but
yeah,
those are, I don't tell
third
me
Terminator. It
why
just
it,
says, "Oh, I just wanted one quick thing about the third Terminator. Then I'm gonna bring him down and
you
talk
know, yeah,
about it.
you can say it. I'm kind
It
of
goes into
curious.
all the impact, but because at the end of the movie, grown up John Connor, who just becomes lame. I guess he has no. He's like after that, after the events of T2. Apparently, he did nothing with his life. So that's cool. So then John Connor's like, turns out the goal wasn't actually to stop Judgment Day. It was to prepare for it. And I'm like, fuck off. That's not the
Really?
goal. Like, yeah, it's so lame. It makes me really mad. But
Kind
just
of
like to move
ruins the
on,
ending
and
of the
like move
second
on.
one.
It just removes all the impact of this.
Yeah, of the whole leaving up to interpretation whether what John is alive or not. Kind of interesting if they even stop Judgment Day, since it never really 100% says, since the film like ends after we see the Terminator burn, basically sacrificing his life so to save billions. And it's like, it's interesting. You can tell he's grown throughout the movie, and they could do a good job at establishing his relationship with him finally feeling like human emotions, and I think it understands that well, and how mainly because how he develops over the course of the movie, learning more about humans and becoming more sentient and less of a robot.
Yeah,
It's an interesting state to put this character from the first movie. I thought it was interesting.
yeah. And that's like because that's like the main. There's a lot of things that develop well as a sequel, but there's like it's so like naturally because like the first movie's all about the Terminator. He's this heartless like literal monster killing machine that you can't really fight against. And with
Hmm.
this, like yeah, he's not evil like programmed anymore, but he still has the same internal like issues of just like he can't really like he doesn't really feel emotion. But then like this slowly you get to see how it develops throughout the movie, and like
Uh
those
huh.
lines where at the end he's like I he understands why people cry because he doesn't understand how that like
Uh
he
huh.
doesn't understand human emotion, and that's like that's such a powerful line to go back to, and eventually at the end when he has to sacrifice himself and he does like the thumbs up because that's what John Connor taught him earlier as like a
Yeah.
natural thing to do. It's so really sad, but like it's such a perfect way to tie everything together.
Yeah, everything comes together well. It's a film that really hit hard in a lot of ways, and
Yeah,
it just like it like pretty much everything in this movie, everything from the first movie is here, but in a emotional power form that makes it more high stakes and
yeah,
more investing than ever, making
yeah.
this
The thing is,
like
this
a
movie is
phenomenal.
it's compared to like both of these are kind of action movies, but like it's kind of like with Alien and Aliens actually, where Terminator One is more like horror focused, while this is more action focused. And
Yeah,
they
and
both
it's
of these work
still,
really well at what they're trying to do, but this
uh-huh.
is like a huge like there's
It's still a
action
good
scenes, but
thriller in
also
a lot
scenes
of
like I
ways.
said,
Hmm.
and even like I said, like I understand if you prefer Terminator One, if you like the horror bent of it more, but even still, like I said, the scene where Sarah breaks into the house is like genuinely one of the most terrifying movie scenes I've seen, and also just the T-1000 in general. His concept is like so creepy to me that like
But
just
like he
like
can
literally
disguise as
kind of
pretty much
scares me.
everyone.
Oh, and like that one scene where John's trying to call the foster parents, but
Uh-huh.
he killed his foster mother and father, and is like pretending to be him. That's really cool to me. And then like
Yeah.
and then when Arnold tries like tricking them by just naming a random dog's name just to check, that's how he ends up finding out. All that's really interesting and like compelling,
Yeah.
and just overall, just wow,
Hmm.
what a
It's just a
what a
phenomenal
concept.
movie in every way. To the tension, to it's like I said, these films are just so easy to like in every way.
Exactly. Yeah,
They're
like I said, it's basically like everything I think. It's
everything
basically
you
the
could
same
want in
thing.
an action movie.
Yeah, everything with like it's like a perfect action movie, but like it's kind of like everything I kind of like about a movie because like obviously as like an action movie for the masses, it's great. Like action, very good. Like it has the likable characters you need to actually care about the action going on, all that. But even on like a deeper level, which I like with some movies when they're thinking about it, it's also really because like what it's saying about like humanity and like how basically anyone can like even a heartless like literally like Terminator he doesn't know anything about like human emotion and even someone like that he like learns to become human basically. And if you look deeper to that, that's also powerful and just like
Hmm.
even like thematically it's interesting and like
Yeah.
everything's so well shot, it's so like well directed.
Oh yeah.
Oh, and
It all
music
comes
wise
together.
too, this movie has really really good music.
Yeah, it's
Compared to
very
other movies for
tense.
this, mwah, chef's kiss,
Hmm.
great.
Man, I don't even know if do you have much more to say? I mean,
I'm trying to think if there's anything specific. Oh wait, I do have one like I think one or two scenes more I wanted to comment on. Like in the around the middle of the movie when they're stopped at like that desert place and Sarah has that dream sequence where she sees Judgment they blow up. I love that scene too. That's
oh
like
yeah, like that dream sequence. Yeah, that was cool. Like basically envisioning herself in that situation.
yeah, which also like that helps tie into her character, the trauma
Yeah.
that she's like facing. And then like also, I guess just one last thing. Like when I first watched this movie, I was like basically hooked the entire time, and I bet that's just because this movie is like perfectly paced, sort of like everything.
Uh-huh.
It flies. It's longer than the first significantly by like it's like this is like the first is like an hour four, just like 2 hours 17 minutes I think. But like even still, just like everything like flows by like
Uh-huh.
so quickly. It just everything works really well. And yeah, James Cameron, bravo. You could make as many Avatar movies you want. You made like two fucking
Yeah.
masterpieces
So
for the rest of your life.
uh-huh.
That's
Yeah, so I guess he has that to be proud of. I'm
yeah,
giving this a that rare 10 out of 10 score and probably like RRR it's pretty much everything I could want in like that type of movie. So
yeah.
I think it
I
deserves
would
it.
agree. Yeah, this is on my letterbox top four
Yeah, so I
because
guess
it's
we know your
no doubt this
rating.
is gonna be at like the a 10. Obviously, it's a 10, but yeah, it's nice to talk about this. I
Uh-huh.
adore this
And
movie.
I
It's been like a
anticipate
year.
rewatching it again. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had fun watching it again since it's been like a year. This is
Hmm.
like a top favorite. I don't want to watch it too much to overdo the impact of it, but
Yeah.
I could watch this movie a lot and would still quite enjoy
Uh-huh.
myself.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right. So,
Uh,
guess we're wrapping it up. So yeah,
yeah.
thanks for tuning in for another episode of Campy Cast. We don't know what our next one is. We don't know when the 2022 ranking will release. That might not come out in a while.
Yeah.
We're gonna take our time with that. So, yeah.
Cause I still want to. We still 2022 releases. We maybe want to catch up on
Yeah,
so we can
mainly
get
just
like
watch so
we can
that
get
way.
like a better perspective on the tops and bottom
Yeah,
tens.
just
Yeah.
for that. Yeah, just so like we can find the
Yeah.
best and the best and the worst of the worst. So yeah, it won't take
Yeah.
too long. Like it's not.
And
I
for the
will.
worst of the worst, we might have to not do that long since that's a little
Yeah,
far
and if there's
future.
like, and if
Especially now
yeah,
if I want to search out some stuff first.
yeah, and for like yeah, and if also if there's something in that video that we've already talked about on the podcast, we might just briefly summarize it since like, yeah,
We don't want to repeat ourselves too much, so
uh-huh, yeah,
we'll
but
see.
we'll just do that for the sake of it. So yeah, also I finished Sonic Frontiers recently, so we might also make a if but we'll have to I'll have to wait for Brian to finish it, but at some
Yeah,
point we
if
can
we
do
want to
that.
do that, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, yeah, because it honestly it's kind of fun to discuss Sonic. Maybe we'll do other video games one day. We won't just stick to Sonic games. So yeah, but yeah, like I said, it's harder to like make videos on video games. So yeah, thank you for tuning in, and yeah, see you guys. Bye.